YouTube, Facebook. I'm on my personal page, truthseekers.com. And I am so thankful to have you guys. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you. Please remember, you guys, like, comment, share. I am trying to get you guys in and on board. So by all means, we're going live in the house. Thank you so very much, Craig C.G. Mike, what's happening? Come on, y'all. Talk to your boy. This is a great day for me because it's the Sunday. It's the Sunday conversation, y'all. So, every Sunday, we bring what the truth is. Sometimes it's so hard to have these conversations with people because, let's just be honest, a lot of people play like they want to be intelligent. A lot of people play like they're engaged, like they're involved, like they care, like they're concerned, like they're focused. But the truth of the matter is, man, this spiritual path thing is for real, y'all. I mean, it's for real, because we had a particular age, we had a particular life experience. Our circumstances have forced us to take this thing very serious. Some of us have friends who are passing away every day. What does that mean? What does it mean when you start to reflect back on what's going on in your life? What about how your life is shaping up? What about your walk with God? Yeah, man, we've all made mistakes. We've all had problems. We've all had transgressions. We've all looked at life and wondered if maybe we had a chance to do it all over, what it would have really looked like. But the truth of the matter is we cannot live in that mindset. We can't live within that feeling of self-doubt. We can't live within that feeling of always being judged by other people. Man, come on, talk to me. Am I not the only person who feels deep in my heart, deep in my spirit, that if I had it all over to do again, it'd been at least about 1 billion things I would have changed? I mean, seriously, come on, man. The reason we had the path, the reason we had the experiences, the reason we had the struggles is that we could be at a particular point in our lives where we could finally say one day, listen, because of the adversities, because of the mistakes, because of the misguided decisions that I made, I'm a better person. I can recognize more opportunities and experiences to deal with people who might be going through similarities to what I'm going through today. And so I say to you guys, I say, don't trip, because that's what today's conversation is about. Because when you find out that there is these real experiences that have brought you closer to the truth, have brought you closer to life, have brought you closer to your salvation, awareness, and understanding, man, you don't want to throw that out the window. But you want to try and find a way to express it. You know what I'm saying? So you go into some of us, we've gone through spiritual changes. We've gone through religious changes, And how many of us have found ourselves in a situation where, we want to find our right way with God, but we get into a religious situation and we start to think to ourselves, man, this religion thing isn't really working for me, because first and foremost, this religion comes with all its traditions and all of its hierarchies. You've got to start at the bottom and work your way up. You've got to basically, you've got to succumb to another person's understanding of what God is, even though you've got God with you all the time. And don't get me wrong, every religion has its beauty. Every religion has its ability to find you where you are and walk you to where you want to be. But when you get there, what do? See, because what I tell people all the time is that religion gives you an awareness that there's a God, that God is always in you. It's always around you. It's always a part of you. And that's what today's conversation is. Today's conversation is the Truth Seekers Sunday conversation on understanding what the difference between religion and spirituality is. Because so many of us are spiritual beings. We understand through all of the different life experiences, all the different circumstances that we've come through, that we are actually children of God. Some of us recognize our own divinity in ourselves. We say, man, God, you are too close to me to not be a part of me, because I don't even have to open my mouth and we're in communication. What do we do with this? Because see, so many times I have looked at religions And I've said, there's no good, bad religion. There's just religions of different ethnicities. Every single religion makes their God look similar to them, makes their prophet of their region the most important one. And we all know as we get older that this is nothing more than the politics of spirituality. Well, we find out, and it's kind of strange because it's a little bit sad, y'all. We find out that what religions are supposed to do to bring us together actually divide us. So many preachers are so worried about you leaving their congregation that they don't even want to acknowledge the spiritual power of the next church, let alone the next religion. What do? Talk to me. Because what had gotten in my situation, and I know a lot of you already understand this, that when I spent so many years trying to become the kind of preacher that would allow me to be able to talk to the average individual about the love of God and self, about the beauty of being connected with the Most High, what I found was a limitation. I found that for so many people, we just wanted to experience God. We go to church. Why do we go to church, y'all? We go to church because we want a good word. We want something to make us uplifted, something to help us through the turmoils of our day, something that will allow us to feel the strength and the connection with God while we're going through the pains and the struggles of today. Some of us just want to know, you know what, I can deal with what I'm going through, but just let me know you with me. But see, when we get there, we get into a judgmental issue. See, because every religion, no matter what they tell you, they are based on a judgment that you was a sinner, but now you strayed. That if you leave out of this, you're going to go back to sinning, but as long as you stay in this, you are straight. It bothers my heart. It burns my soul. It really bothers my spirit when I see so many people want to connect with God and God is right there, but the religions get in the way because they're judgmental. So what happens? So many people, they walk up out of the church and they never come back to God. See, because they don't understand God was not in that church. God was in their heart. God was not in that temple. God was not in that mosque. God was in that spirit of that being, and that being will never let go of that spirit of God and truth. It is always there. But somebody's got to talk to them. See, because some people got to know that just because you don't have an active faith in a particular religion doesn't in any ways diminish, doesn't stop, doesn't impede on your ability to communicate with the Most High at all times. See, and we go through these lows. We start to feel terrible, y'all. I mean, it breaks my heart, but we start to feel terrible because we're saying, man, I got to find me a religious way to express my truth. If I don't find the right religion that really builds well with my spirit, that really connects with me as an individual, then I'm just going to be out here as a heathen. I'm not going to have what it takes to be a child that truly respects the Father in heaven. And it's burdensome, y'all. It hurts us. But here's what I got to tell you. I've got something to tell you that's really, really strong, and that is be encouraged that every single prophet that has ever walked this earth found God directly. There's absolutely no statement, not that one that I've ever read, where a man followed a religion and found God. Now, let me tell you the truth. God is there. Religion is something you learn. God is innate. It's in the DNA. See, religions have taught us to dislike each other, to judge each other, to separate from each other, to take one to be higher than the other, to believe that one is actually more blessed, more ordained, more strengthened, more encouraged, more manifested. But the truth of the matter is the individual is judged. The individual is judged by how he treats the other individual, because that's the only way you can actually show your reverence for the Most High. See, there's no earthly act you can do other than display your respect for the power of the Creator in how you treat His creation. So I say to you today, understand that you may be struggling with knowing what religion to go to, but be encouraged that God is with you through the struggle. And the best way, the most powerful way, the only way to show your love for the Most High is how you treat yourself and those who love, protect, watch over you, but also those who mean you no harm, those who mean you no good, and those who will never be understood by you. Because how you treat them is how you show your reverence. And somebody said to thank We are all judged as individuals. That's right, Nisa, because the reality of the matter is that is all that we ever will be as an individual. You may think you are a Christian. You may think that you are a Muslim. You may think you are a Jew. You may think that you are a Sikh, for that matter. But the reality is you are an individual, and that individual is going to be judged karmatically by how you treat other people. See, because too many times, we have been used by our religion, y'all. Man, let me say this to you differently. Religions have been used for a very long time as a vehicle to oppress, to rule, to create a level of separation from the hierarchy and the average folk. So what ends up happening is we look at religion. Now watch this. We look at religion as if it is superiority and we're inferiority. So we're always worried about being judged. We're always worried about being condemned. We're always hoping to get a blessing. We're always hoping to be found good so that good can come about us. But see, too many of us have seen good people struggle, and too many people have struggled seeing bad people do good. Now you tell me how this is, and I'm going to explain to you what the problem is with religion. See, because religion has nothing to do with the earthly gains or the so-called afterworld disorders. See, the truth of the matter, and this is a hard thing for us to understand because we're so indoctrinated with this so-called religious background that we don't understand that the God that we are always going to be connected with is with us through our ups and our downs. See, if you believe wholeheartedly, now watch this, if you believe wholeheartedly that only the good are blessed and only the bad are cursed, then you are not going to be able to deal with the sudden death of a loved one. You're not going to be able to deal with car accidents. You're not going to be able to deal with diseases. You're not going to be able to deal with having something traumatic happen in your life because you'll constantly be conflicted with that. But you don't understand this. See, because whatever happens to you in your material self has nothing to do with your spiritual self. See, the spirit cannot be harmed, cannot be touched, cannot be bothered. Unless, of course, we allow our mindsets to take over our beliefs of what truly is affecting us. Hey, this your boy Tone Duncan. This is Truth Seekers Sunday Conversation. Every Sunday, 1 p.m., I get a chance to kick it with you guys. I get to listen to your comments. I get to react. I get to see how other people react. But do me a favor, you guys. Like, comment, but then also share this. Get this onto a group page. We all got group pages that we like. I love to spread the conversation to the people who you know and the people who know you. Jump them in. Come on, right now. Take a second out. Take this, copy it, go right over to one of your group pages and paste it right in. Because that's what it's really about, y'all. It's really about having this conversation spread so we can all get in. See, because there's some real differences between spirituality and religion. One of the main things you have to know about the difference between religion and spirituality is that religion teaches us to fear. See, we're always scared we're going to break a rule. We're always scared we're going to go to hell. We're always scared we're going to be cursed, afflicted, pained, burdened, or whatever. But spirituality, it shows you how to be brave. See, it shows you how to pioneer and go forward. See, because let me tell you something. Every single person that has ever considered themselves to be a prophet has experienced a really negative part of their life. And you say to yourself, well, maybe that's not true. Well, really it is. Every single one, based on the laws, based on the commandments, every single teacher has done something that has reviled that spiritual culture at some point. I don't care who you're talking about. I don't care if we're talking about Muhammad. I don't care if we're talking about Jesus. I don't care if we're talking about Buddha. I don't care who you're talking about. I'm telling you this right now because you need to understand this, that it does not take perfection to see the perfection from within. See, this is one of these things that I have to walk with you through because so many people have told you something that was a lie. I remember sitting in ministry school, listening to how people were spinning things. I read the Bible at least 10 times before I finished my first week of ministry school. And let me tell you what I knew. I knew that the way that they were saying the religion was not what was in the book. And here's something else I found out. That the book that I was reading was not the way that it originally came. And you know what else I found out? I found out that if you actually understood the Greek, that it wouldn't end up being the words that you were reading in English. And it was okay. Because I understood that for so many people that was irrelevant. People just needed to know there was a God there. They needed to know God was there and that God was going to care. And in my opinion, I'm going to tell you right now, and this ain't no misunderstanding, I didn't understand how many people there were that were lost, that were hurt, that were scared, that were lonely, that were abused. They were left out, cut out, feeling as if it was only them in the world that was so huge that they felt nothing but the loneliness of separation. I'm going to tell you right now, the very first thing that I ever knew as an individual is that God was with me all the time. I don't care how deep, how dark, how scary, how tragic. I never once thought that God had anything to do with an outside force. See, I didn't think God was in heaven. See, you know why? Because when God talked to me, he was right in my ear. He was in my head. When I talked to God, I didn't open my mouth. See, and this is the truth, because spinning somebody starts off with the belief that somebody else is going to tell you something about a God that you could not know for yourself. See, in the minute you outsource this knowledge, it becomes divisive. It becomes toxic. Because when somebody from the outside can tell you about something so intimate that it is always and will forever be within, you have given up your strength, your awareness, and your power. You've outsourced the reality that never had to leave. See, God is an inside force. Even in the scriptures, it tells you. If they tell you it's on the outside, it's not true. God is in you. But if he's in you, he's in me. He's in you. That means he's all around you. See, there used to be a time that there was a three-tiered universe mindset. What that meant is basically people believed that the dead were underneath, people believed that the living was in the middle, and people believed that those who had left this planet were on top. That was a three-tiered universe. So even the stories that we used to read, like the story of Babel and all these different things, you know, how they tried to build a tower so that they can get to God. See, that was all based on a lack of science. See, what happened was when people became more scientifically inclined, what ended up happening in this nutshell is that the more intelligent people felt no place in religion. They felt as though, man, you know, there's no way in the world that religion could be right if they're telling me that, you know, the earth is only this many thousand years old, but yet and still archaeology has proven that it's this many millions. See, the problem was that when the Christians, and I've talked about this last week, when the Christians hijacked a Jewish religion and put their own Roman spin on it, we lost an understanding of how to better explain and realize the scriptures. See, what happened was at some particular point, and I don't know exactly when it was, somebody told somebody else that the book was infallible and that every single thing was literal, every single thing was true, and then you had to take it that way or else you was going to hell. Now, you know, that hurts my heart because the truth of the matter is that's like somebody doing the same thing with anything in life. There's absolutely nothing you can read that's divine. Let me tell you what God says. God says, make no graven image. Listen to what I'm telling you. When I tell you God said make no graven image, that includes the Bible. Don't make the Bible God. You know what that's called? That's idolatry. You know what I call it? Bibliolatry. Because you're taking the Bible, making it synonymous with God. Now, hold on now. Don't get me wrong. When I read the Bible, I don't see divine words. I see a divine feeling. See, God is in me when I'm reading it. This is the reason why the words of Jesus say, my sheep hear my voice, and the strangers they will not follow. See, what people don't understand about the Bible is they don't use real names. They use terms of definition. See, I'm going to give you an example, okay? Like, for instance, Paul. You know, Paul is a Greek word. The Greek word referred to a more pointed example of Saul. So Saul meant the people's choice. That was a Hebrew word. See, and the very first pastor that I ever heard told me every single thing in the Bible was exact. And that if you made one contradiction, if you said one thing that was wrong, you was blasphemy against God. I said, wow, God and the Bible are one. They connected. But then when I sat in ministry school, when I went through theological school, when I went through critical redaction school, when I understood that the book was nothing more than an interpretation, a way to try and express something spiritual in a material plane, which is already absurd, it's going to be messed up in the door. Have you ever tried to articulate a feeling? I'll never forget when my wife says, tell me why you love me. Just tell me why you love me. I can't tell you why I love you. Now I felt like a little bit in trouble, right? Like I'm about to get in trouble here. But let me tell you what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is it's very hard to make a spiritual feeling be manifest into words. I don't know how to see it. It's kind of like ideas. Like I used to have this idea of doing a particular move to the basketball court, but my body couldn't do what my mind had seen so simply done. This is what happens on a more divine, a more dynamic, a more truthful scale. When you are trying to express the divine, this is the reason why in scriptures it says, the deep talketh to the deep. There's absolutely no words to express these things. Words are to express like the temperature outside, the way something tastes, the way something feels. There's absolutely no way in the world I could take a material word, a finite word, and express something as important, as powerful, as real as the Most High. No. I'm going to tell you right now, as I've studied, I've still lost any clue on exactly what is love. I mean, we can't even express these simple things, and we're supposed to be able to talk. This is the reason why I'm going back to spirituality, y'all, and I'm talking about why religion divides us, but the Spirit unites us. See, because so many of us, we think that if you truly care, you would find one of these divine prophets and you would follow everything they do, every single thing, because you're reverence for the Most High. And you have it, I have it, our families have it. We all love and embrace the power of truth. We love God. We feel bad about the lifestyles that we've lived. We look around at the chaos. We think about our future. And we want to try, deeply try, to try and show that we're different, that we care, that we want to make a change. But I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth of the matter is it's a spiritual walk. See, you may not understand this, but religion will imply that you got there. But spirituality will tell you you've never left. You've always been there, and he's always been there with you. See? And then we can move away from the foolishness. See, religion makes you bow. See, you gotta, oh God, oh forgive me, Father. How many of you guys have children, and if your child came and got on his knees and put his face in the ground, every time he talked to you, you start saying, child, I love you, right? I built you out of love, and I built you out of happiness. And I want you to stand upright, and I want you to talk to me with some confidence and know that you love me and know that I love you, and don't bury your face in the dirt. Get up, stand up and talk to me. How many of you guys would be you feel like some wicked, oppressive parent if every time your child talked to you, they pointed their face so deep in the dirt that they had, nostrils full of soil? You hear me? This is the thing I'm talking about. But see, when it's used oppressively, you feel you have no standing with God. Like God is on the outside. You're this pathetic fool on the inside, and you need not even open or show your face. This is sickening. What kind of bully, what kind of oppressive parent are you trying to make the creator with this rhetoric? See, but when it was all about mistreating you, when it was all about that plantation preaching, see, when you were told before anything that you were nothing, it was acceptable then, right? It was totally fine. But now you realize that you and the Father are one. And I use this word Father without any gender. Y'all know that I don't believe that there's no such thing as a male or a female God. Of course not. God is not somebody who's limited to some form of a physical, sexual orientation. But speaking of sexual orientations, this is what this world has turned into, the polarity of swords. Hey, you guys, I want to remind you, this is Truth Seekers Sunday Conversation. Every Sunday, 1 o'clock Chicago time, we get a chance to bring this together. And all of us are talking while seeing all the comments going on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. I just want to thank you guys for this. And man, come on, like, comment, share. Let's get this conversation going. Here's the thing that people don't understand about being somebody who is divinely created. See, when you are divinely created, you are not a mistake. You may make mistakes. You may make mistakes. And guess what? Mistakes are abound. I joked around and I said, here's the reality. The reality is that if you are made from perfection, then that's a strive towards a particular direction. You don't start perfect. You create perfection through your obtainment of wisdom. Wisdom is experience. As I tell people all the time, listen, I used to train dogs. One lady left the dog with me for a weekend. She came back and she said to me, hey, is my dog trained? I said, ma'am, I'm going to tell you the truth. I can't tell you if it's trained. She said, why? I said, well, sadly, he didn't make any mistakes. See, if he didn't make any mistakes, how can I teach him? I don't know if it's got it on accident, if I already knew it. But the reality is, if you want to train a dog, he's got to make mistakes, and that's where you teach him. That's called a correction, right? The same with us. When our children make mistakes, you walk through the mistake. You teach them. All right. And then from there, they've learned. Just the same way with math, the same way with English, the same way with school, the same way with our personal lives. You make a mistake in a relationship, you make a mistake in a business decision, you make a mistake in a financial issue. What do? You think about it, figure it out, and you learn from it. See, and this is the way that God has us designed. This is the reason we have the intellectual capacity to grow. This is why we don't make the same mistakes over and over again if we think about it and we grow from it. See, God inherited our favor through the times, tribulations, and the emphasis of our sacrifices. See, you have to understand, and this is tough for people to understand. God was with you when you made your mistake. Have you ever checked out the prodigal child? Watch this. I'm going to tell y'all something. Here's prodigal child. Prodigal child, he walked with God. He was with God the whole time, right? Because it was the son of God. He was the master of the home. So he got tired. He said, you know what? Give me my inheritance. I'm out of here. Now watch this. I'm going to shock y'all real quick. Now he said, give my inheritance up out of here. He went, took the inheritance, squandered it, messed it all up. And what does that scripture say? Scriptures say, well then, after a while, he realized how foolish he was. He came back. Well, see, why did he come back? Because he knew he always had a home. He always had a place. And this is the way that we are supposed to be, because this is the child that God has raised. The child that knows that, yes, you may make mistakes, but you come on back. You come on back. You repent. You know what repent means? Turn. Turn from the direction you were going. And this is what makes us so powerful. This is what gives us the divinity of our truth. This is what allows us to be the children of the Most High. It's because we are on a steady plane, a constant growth, a movement towards the reality that God has put us in. But you got to be willing to be strong. You got to be willing to understand that it doesn't happen the way you thought it was going to happen. See, religion tells you what the truth is and isn't, regardless if it's right or wrong. But spirituality realizes that the only thing that will ever happen is that we will experience and we'll learn from them. You know, God never leaves us forever faithful, even though I don't deserve it. You know what? Hey, that's the truth. But here's the thing, and I'm always trying to massage these things out. And hey, Brother Sean, man, by all means, man, ask those questions so we can add them into the conversation. Now, I want to point this out to you guys. Nothing we get in life we deserve. Nothing. Because we can think of somebody who was more prepared, more wonderful of an individual, more anything, and their life got completely wiped out. You know, maybe some of the worst things happen to them and you say, wow, if that can happen to them, every single thing that happens to me is almost undeserved. I don't deserve any happiness because they didn't deserve the pain. But the reality is we have to remember something. We are spiritual beings. See, this is where we get into a mistake, because so many times that religion jumps in and hurts us. So many times we start to think that we are sinners, we are worthless. We should be hell-bound and sacrificed because of the condemnation of our transgressions. But the reality is that God, if God, watch this, I'm going to walk you through this real quick. So if God is in you, if you are a child of God, That means you've got divinity in your DNA. If this be the case, then all things that you go through, if you give it to the Lord and experience in truth and in the favor of learning for wisdom and better repentance, it's all good. It's all good. Some of the things that you torment yourself about doing, let it go. If you're going to pray, why worry? If you're going to worry, why pray? You have to understand this. So many of us don't realize that every single explanation, every testimony, every truth is based on the redemptive properties, because God finds the salvation within the wisdom of humility. You understand what that means? That means once you realize that it's the divinity in you that makes you so special, you remove the ego and you let the love flow. This is important, y'all. Man, it breaks my heart, because I've got so many people who talk to me all the time and they tell me, they say, I would let go of the religious thing, but I don't want to go to hell. Well, first off, why are you letting go of the religion? Religion is fine if you understand what to do with it. But some people feel so confined. They feel so conflicted. And I say to them, God is not dependent on religion. You are. What Jesus said, the Sabbath is not meant for man. Man is not meant for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath meant for man. Right? They're the same with religion, so you understand this is the same conversation. Religion is not dependent on you. But some of you are dependent on religion, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay? But what we sometimes think religion is, we think that religion is doing enough good that we can go sit down somewhere and tell God what it is we need him to do for us. Let me tell you what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you might do something extra, do something nice, do something that's sinless, so that in your quiet place and in your quiet time, you can say, God, I really would like that house. God, I really would like that car. God, I really would like that husband. God, I really would like that job promotion. See, because this is our mindset. We think that love is quid pro quo. What that means in business is something for something. But we don't understand that love is not that way. If you understood love was not that way, you would not feel this need for balance. You would feel like, no matter what happens, I am going to be a loving person. I am going to give of myself wastefully. I heard somebody say that once. They said, I give of myself wastefully. And I thought to myself, waste is not a good word. Nobody wants to waste. Everybody wants to use things the right way. We all want to be, smart in how we do things. But you know what wasteful means? Wasteful means that I love and I give without any consideration. I don't care. I'm not looking for a good situation to give love to. I'm not looking for a compassionate person to care about. I'm not looking for a poor person to help. I'm not looking for a tragic situation to offer a hand. I am going to give of myself all the time. See, but again, these are the problems with religion, because religion teaches us things that aren't true. I want you to understand the difference between spirituality and religion starts with the way that you address yourself. See, because if you understood the spiritual power that was in you, you would never have to worry about religion again. You would use religion like a vine just to swing you from spot to spot. You'd be able to go into a mosque and give praise to the Most High. You'd be able to go into a temple, give praise to the Most High. You'd be able to go into a synagogue, give praise to the Most High. You'd be able to go into the bathroom and give praise to the Most High. You see? Because religion is only a conduit. It only gets you to a point. From there, you have to realize that you are always at that point. Some of y'all religious. And when I say religious, I don't mean you have a faith. Because you can have a faith. A faith is beautiful. Whatever way you express your reverence for God is beautiful. But when you start to condemn people based on that, then there's a problem. See, when you start to think that your religion is the only way towards happiness, then you are now being religious. And religion can truly turn God's people away. Every single time that I read through any religion I saw, if it wasn't Abraham and Melchizedek, if it wasn't Muhammad and the various religious people that were in place at that time, if it wasn't Buddha and the various Hindu religions that he was up against. See, you don't understand this, y'all. You gotta feel me on this. Some of y'all know it in your heart, but you just haven't had the confidence to express it. God has no religion. No, not one. No, I mean, I wish I could tell you of one, but I know for a fact there isn't one. And the reason I know there isn't one is because I've seen from my own eyes that God is in every religion. God is with the faithful. God is with those who treat his creation like they have reverence for the Creator. See, I've seen God everywhere. You know, God is in every person. This is the reason why Jesus said, love your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your might. And the second thing is equal to the first. And that is, you love your neighbor like you love yourself. You know, he went on to say a neighbor could be a Samaritan. And a Jew for a Samaritan was the most disgusting, most vile person there ever was, because they believed that a Samaritan is somebody who knew the law, walked away from the law, and now they walk around as if their new law was something worth obtaining. And I'm going to tell you this. It's wild, but I want you to hear me. We must understand that when you truly experience the divine within yourself, now watch what I said, when you experience, that means when you recollect, when you understand the real, when you see for yourself that divinity was always there. See, when you understand it, then you have to move away from the ego and into the humility of truth. And that is that God is in every single individual. You may not call him God. I've had people who told me I am an atheist. And I said, okay, talk to me about being an atheist. You know what they say to me? They say, well, I don't believe in any God who speaks on the top of a cloud and dictates. You know what? I said, well, if that's what God is, I'm an atheist too. Because that's not God. That's just your definition of what isn't God. Now you talk to me about what is God, and maybe you'll find out that you are more spiritual than you thought you were. See, because the reality is that God is not confined to any form of a myth, any form of a spiritual tradition, any form of a faith belief. These are just pathways. Pathways towards a greater truth. And I'm going to tell you right now, just the same way as religion has opposed science, God has no problem with science, and God has no problem with not being the God you thought God was. Because God is an expression of the spirit, of the divine truth. And it has nothing to do with what you read in your book. Your book was for you. Okay? It was a book to get you to where you need to go. I always say religions are like boats. They'll cross you across a river of doubt, of confusion. But once you get to where you're going, you got to jump off and realize that you are the destiny. You are the journey. You are the child of the Most High. Some of you, it's a hard one to do. Some of you walked away from religion because you said, you know what, I'm too smart for this. I see too many contradictions. This reminds me of oppression. This was nothing more than a way to get people to bow down and to be subject to somebody else's rule. And you know what I say to them? I say, yeah, you're right. That's why I don't necessarily know why you're holding on to your religion. But if your religion helps you to be a better person, if it gives you some form of a doctrine so that you can go back and see what it means to walk with the Most High, that's fine. I love you for it. But if you think that every single thing that's in that book has something to do with the realities of truth, if you think that somehow God gave the right to Moses to create genocide throughout all the land, if you thought that Abram was in the right to be able to do the things that he did to Hagar, if you thought for sure that that was even a truthful story, man, you need to stop being so religious. Okay? Hey, this your boy Tone Duncan. This is Truth Seekers every Sunday, 1 p.m. Chicago time. Listen. We are talking about it and telling the truth. Hey, don't forget, like, comment, share. Jump on, be a part of this. I'd love for you to get an opportunity to see what's really happening here. I want to give a special shout out to every one of you who are checking me out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, truthseekers.com. You guys make this happen, and I am so, so thankful. You know, I have gotten to a little bit of a problem with some people that are highly religious, because a lot of people believe, well, you know, they believe in the atonement theory, you know what I mean? And I say it's a theory because it's only something that people had brought up once, well, after God, the so-called Jesus had died. And when I say so-called, you guys got to understand something. It's no disrespect, but Jesus is a phrase, a definition. Okay, what they used in the Hebrew words, they used words to explain things. Okay, now let me walk you through this. Now, Jesus is nothing more than the Greek translation of Yahushua, right? And what that meant is the way of salvation. Okay, the way of salvation, which is exactly what they thought Jesus was. And I go back and I talk to you about what Saul meant. Saul meant the people's choice. The first Saul you ever saw was the people's choice, the king that the Hebrews wanted, even though their high priest told them don't do it. But yet and still he did it. So what did they say? They said, okay, this is the people's choice. They called him Saul. Saul of the Bible, who we call Paul, was the people's choice because the Gentiles rejected the Hebrew way and they went the Gentile way. And this was the reason why he's called Paul, Saul from Tarsus. See, the problem is with most people, the most religious people I've ever met in my life have never read the Bible more than twice. They can't tell you where the stories came from. They've never read any religious stories about that time and day. They can't really tell you anything about what the words mean. Don't really study the Hebrew. Don't know a thing about Koine Greek. Don't even know that Jesus spoke Aramaic. But yet and still, they're the first ones to tell you Jesus died on your sin. You're going to hell. They died on the cross. You're going to hell for your sins. First ones. And you say, okay, I respect that. I respect that if you really knew what you were saying. And since I know what you're saying and I know why you're saying it, I hold no offense to it. See, because the truth of the matter is God builds us up, okay? Religion divides us. But we have to understand that spirituality came before religion, and after your religion is done and gone, there'll be spirituality still. See, because there's an inkling, there's a part of you, there's an inner voice saying to you, you know, I got to get right with my God. And that voice is not religion. That voice is a personal decision. That's an intimate relationship with the Most High that's always been there. See? Even your book says, seek ye first the kingdom, and then it goes on to tell you that the kingdom is inside of you. Now, how is this possible? It's only possible when the truth of the matter is that in that book, there's tons of truth. And I don't care what book we're talking about. Every single book has tons of truth in there. But you got to be able to separate the tares from the wheat. This is the truth. And you know the truth of the matter, I love when my man Howard's on there. What's up, Howard? Man, I'm telling you right now, I read the Sanskrits. I read the Sanskrit and Pali. I read the Sanskrit. And what I realize is that every single core belief of a righteous person, watch this, every single core belief of a righteous person is in every single spiritual expression. Every single one. And you know why? Because the same God that talks to you in the deepest place of your spirit is the same God that talks to me in the deepest place of mine. And see, it's only our ego that separates us. See, what gives you a name is your ego. Your ego gives you a name, gives you a belief system, gives you an opinion. But the spirit gives you unity. So know when you are in your spirit, know when you are in your ego. Because understanding that your ego is what creates the individual allows you to move up out of that ego and into the truth. And that truth is that unifying spirit that some of us express as God, expresses all different things. You know, when I was sitting up one day wondering, you know, how do I use this word God? God's got so many, you know, there's so many underlying statements that come with saying something about God. Like, I understand that there's some people that are so turned off by God because God was used in such a demeaning way. God has been used in myths. God has been used in killing. God has been used in all kinds of situations. Some people are just tired of this word called God. They're not tired of the Most High. They're not tired of the spiritual creator. They're not tired of any of that. They're tired of this religious association with the term. And so I said to myself, how do you speak to these people? And you know what I came up with? I came up with just as God has no religion, God has no need for a particular name. You know, what I loved about reading the scriptures is when God named himself I am. That way we don't have to worry about I am who. I am. Right? I wish there was a way for us to say that in our language right now, in the native tongue of this English. I wish there was a way for us to say God is. Not God is, but is. That's the God we serve, is. Right? And when we understand that the God we serve is the same God that's in us, not some God that's outside that you have to do all kind of nice things to and hope that God comes inside, or you have to accept a sacrifice, you have to accept some form of a religious creed, and then all of a sudden God is in you. Well, where was God beforehand? See, this is the thing. See, if you are missing God, guess who's lost? Because he was never gone. It's just you were so caught into your ego, you had lost your spiritual truth. Not you were separate from your spiritual truth. You were just so caught into your ego, you couldn't see it anymore. Man, somebody got to feel me on this, because see, the truth of the matter is there's a lot of us that walk around here lonely, walk around scared, feel like we're going through something that nobody else can understand, but you don't understand. God connects us all. And I use this generic term God, and I only use the generic term God because some of us are just there right now. Some of us, we believe in Jesus, but we call Jesus God. We believe in the Spirit, but it's called the Holy Spirit, which is one with God. And we're all stuck in this Trinitarian understanding. And let me tell you something. Most people, if I was to ask you what it meant to be a Trinity, you would get it wrong. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you right now, I studied for a very long time. And watch what I tell you when I say this. I studied for a very long time on the heresies of the early Christian church. And almost every single definition I've ever heard about the Trinity is a heretic. Okay? You would have been burned at the stake if you would have been given an opportunity to give one chance at giving your understanding of what it means to be a Trinity. See, you know what the definition of the Trinity is? A mystery. Because that's the only way you're going to say it without getting killed. Right? Because every single time they actually tried to work this out logically, it was a heresy. It was a heresy, y'all. This is what I'm trying to tell you, is when you get so deep that you realize it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, I am. Yeah, just like that. See, because when you understand that you are the children of God, when you understand that you are made in God's image, you are created through the breath of the Spirit. I got to pause right there, because some of y'all, let's walk this thing back a little bit. You are made through the breath of the Spirit. We all know that God doesn't breathe. So when they were using this term, the breath of the Spirit, what they were really trying to tell you, watch this, what they were really trying to say is that the Spirit gave spirit, because through breath is life. And you are that life. See, I don't know how you would break that down, but see, I know how to translate things into English. And basically what it's saying is you and the Spirit are one. See, because it was the Spirit that created you with the Spirit, and that is you. Now, some of y'all religion doesn't allow you to think that. Some of y'all religions tell y'all that God is one thing and you are but a creation, hex and a helo, basically telling you that you can never have any God in you unless Jesus comes into your spirit. But if you would have ever read the beginning of John, in the beginning was the Word, walk that back and you will see that all things, see, that's another story for another day. But we use these misunderstandings to further confuse other people in this oppressive thing called religion. And don't get me wrong, I'm not referring to your faith. See, because a faith is a beautiful thing, and you can keep that faith powerful. That faith can walk you through so many things. But when you start to use it to condemn people, I call that being religious. And some of us need to step away from religion and get back into our spiritual truth. This your boy Tone Duncan, Truth Seekers, every Sunday, 1 p.m. Chicago time. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, truthseekers.com. I am so thankful for you guys to be a part of this. Look, like, comment, share. Let's get the conversation going. So many of us, we just come on, we just want to hear, want to get a good word. Let me tell you something. There's absolutely nothing you are going through right now today that God can't take you through, because you and God are one. See, but what we have to do is we have to understand that there is a divisive spirit that gets on top of us, y'all. Watch what I'm saying. Now watch this. I'm going to walk this really slow through y'all. Okay, we have this very divisive spirit called self-doubt. Man, self-doubt. It's like a Satan in us. It's like a demon that possesses you. Okay? Let me talk to you about what this is. Self-doubt tells you that you are not worthy. Self-doubt tells you you made all these mistakes. Self-doubt tells you that, you know what? You deserve every bad thing that could possibly happen to you. You know? Why? Why? You call it a demon, fine. You call it a demon, you can call it an evil spirit, call it whatever you want to. I don't care what you call it. I know exactly what it's called. It's called a belief system. And see, that belief system, you can get rid of that belief system by allowing yourself to understand your divinity. But see, when you say your divinity, then some of y'all think, well, that means you got Jesus in your heart. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. If that's what your religion has told you, then I'm okay with that. But that's not what Jesus told you. See, and this is one of the things that why, when I was sitting in pastoral school and I'm saying to myself, now how am I supposed to have this conversation going with all of the people that I care about, that I love? How can I allow them to keep thinking that somehow there's something they can do where they no longer have God with them? I mean, what did David do? Every single crime that you would think was the worst crime in the world. He killed people. He had adultery. All right. He coveted. He broke the Sabbath. I mean, which ones you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? The man did them all, but yet and still, what he never let go of is the belief that God and him were one. They walked together. No matter what he went through, God was with them. And see, this is the thing. See, a lot of us don't understand we don't understand that God is with us. He's talking to us at all the time. The problem is we so stuck in our ego. We so stuck up here somewhere that we cannot hear the voice in the wilderness that says, make way, straighten these crooked paths. But it's always there, y'all. It's always there. And sometimes it gets a little tough. It gets a little tough because we feel like maybe we're alone. And this is where religion sets in. Because religion tells you as long as you do what we say, you're going to have some form of value with us. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. The case is that God is with you. God is in you. God is all around you. And I hope that today you guys understand this because, see, we are struggling sometimes. But you have to understand when you're struggling, misery loves company. Come on, God, just a good word, just a good word. Pick me up. Let me feel something. God's with you. God's been with you. The question is whether or not you understand that when God is with you, whatever you are going through is finite to the infinite. See, God being with you, we call ourselves, so many of us call ourselves Christians, call ourselves Muslims, call ourselves Buddhists, and call ourselves after these people who truly, we believe in our heart, walked with the Most High. Every one of them succumbed to something that a spiritual person shouldn't have succumbed to. I don't care who it is. If you're a Jew, you believe in Moses, but look what happened to Moses. He died on top of a mountain without ever fulfilling what he believed was his calling. What happened to Abraham? He never saw the promised land. What happened to Jesus? He was killed, executed by the Romans. I don't care what anybody has to tell you. As a Roman, he was slaughtered. As a Jew, he was slaughtered by the Romans. And you know why, right? Sedition. He was given a treasonous death. All right? It's the truth. What do you want to talk about? Muhammad, go back and read how he died. You want to talk about Buddha? Go back and read how he died. All right? Every single person succumbed to something that you would not think the holy would have to go through. So too many times we think that our religious convictions are going to take us away from all problems, all pains, all sacrifice. Not the case. Not the case. No, not the case at all. Hey, this is your boy Tone Duncan. I'm so glad to get everybody tuning in and checking me out. Listen, follow this conversation. Speak on it. I'll be checking it out well after this show is over because we've got a constant engagement, a conversation going. What is the difference between religion and spirituality? Religion is somebody else's opinion telling you what the God experience should be, whereas spirituality is you walking that spiritual truth and that relationship with God. Religion will never get you to heaven because religion is based on tradition, whereas spirituality is based on relationship. I encourage you to get a stronger relationship with the divine in you. Stop worrying about what other people have to say. See, it's unfortunate, but the judgmentalness of all these different religions, spiritualities, man, is sad. Hurts my feelings because so many people, they go in looking to get built up, they get beat down. And they don't know what to do. See, if you're not being worked, if you're not being used by somebody, if you ain't on somebody's board, if you ain't putting in time doing this, doing that, then they don't want you, they don't want to help you. You know how many people I've seen go through this? And I'm going to tell you again, I know some wonderful churches. I know some wonderful Christians. I know some wonderful Muslims. I know wonderful, beautiful people. I know wonderful, beautiful pastors and ministers. And I'm not trying to condemn anybody. But you and I both know that God is with you. God is in you. And God is not the God that you read about. God is the God you experience in your heart. God is the God that you pray to at night when nobody else is there. God is the God you ask for help when there's nobody there to help you. And that God is real. And that God doesn't have to be called God. That God doesn't have to be called Jesus. That God doesn't have to be called anything. That God doesn't even need a name. The name is so somebody else can tell you what he said. So the fact that you even got a name for your God means somebody else told you something that you didn't need to know because you already had the knowledge inside of you. Now, you might have been missing a religion, but some of y'all need to be missing that religion today because it's done nothing but teach you to hate other people and look at yourself as being superior because you do a couple of things they didn't do. It's Truth Seekers, y'all. Sunday's conversation, Chicago time, 1 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. And I've read so many of your statements. I really love this stuff. You know, it's hard sometimes to talk about religion and spirituality because you got these people that are so religious. They're so hateful for anything outside of what they heard at their pulpit. That if I was to show them where in their own scriptures they had it wrong, they would think that somehow it meant something different. You know? Because God has a way of teaching us. But most of the lessons we learn are inside. They're in our spirit. They're in our heart. They're in our walk. See, when we search for the Most High, we don't search through a religion. We search through a spiritual relationship. And that's the difference between religion and spirituality. Religion can tell you everything that you should and shouldn't do, but spirituality is the only pathway to the divine presence. And I ask that you walk towards your spiritual truth. And don't be so burdensome with your religious truth, because your religion is fine for you. It's fine for your family, fine for your community, fine for your culture. But it is strictly just that, yours. Everybody else is entitled to theirs, and yours is no better than theirs, no matter how everybody who you know who listens to what you listen to tells you that, because every single group says the same thing about theirs. So I hope that on Tuesday, we can talk about some other things. Remember, Truth Seekers, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Chicago time. Sunday conversation, Sunday, 1 p.m. It is a privilege, y'all. I'm so glad, so thankful, so honored to hang out with you today. And I look forward to the next time. Peace.